Welcome csc121 to ex6. This will be test scores letter grade, and we already did the test scores and it was ex3, and you could use your ex3 and you don't even have to make a new ex6. You can just add on to it, but then when you submit it, just remember to submit it under your coursework under ex6, and then you could just put the same URL for that. So here's the sample of what we're going to do, and this is real quick, so this shouldn't take long. Is we're going to enter test 1. I forget how many tests I have here. I have 6 tests, so I'm going to do them all the same. 78, 78, 78, 78, 78, 78. I have 6 here, and it says the average of 6 tests is 78.0. And I do have an extra print here, which I'll take out. And I have a C. It's a C, which that's 78 would be a C. I'm not going to do pluses for this. We're just going to do straight letter grades. And that's all we're going to do is just print out a letter grade. That's all we're doing. So this will be pretty simple. So this is our original code we have here. And remember, we kind of counted things up with num tests so that we can actually make a variable to kind of average this to kind of have num test to average it together. Here's our grade that we kind of rounded at the end. And we also used a version where we did one variable for test score that actually got incremented as we went. And that's in my earlier video. So all that we're going to do here is after we print the average is we're just going to put one other thing here, is we're going to start using if-else statements. And these are conditional statements where something will print based on whatever the value of average is in this case. So we're going to say if average, and we'll start with an A, is that would be greater than or equal to 90, because that would be what would be considered an A. And then we have to put a colon here, because that's the way conditional statements are set up. There's a colon here, and then when we hit return or enter, it's going to indent it. And we're not putting things in curly braces, we're indenting. That's the way Python kind of handles things that are inside a conditional statement. And what's going to happen if you have a 90, it's just going to print A. That's all we're going to do, is we're going to print, and we'll do I'll put a string of A, so we'll just, otherwise it'll look for a variable. So we're just going to print A. And that's all we're going to do. So if it's the average comes out to an A, a 90 or better, we'll print A. Now it's something else. What if it's not that? Well, then we're going to do something called elif, and we have to go back out, because all these initially should line up. So I'm going to do elif. That means if there's another condition. And the other condition would be is if average was a B. And a B would be less than or equal to 89.99. And we're also going to say and. We're going to use kind of something that joins it here, an operator that joins it. And we're going to say and, because it's not or. It has to meet both these criteria. So it's going to be less than 89.9. And it's going to be, for B, it will be equal to or greater than 80. So we could say greater than or equal to 80. And then our colon, and then this would be, I'll just copy this, and this would just be print B. Okay, and even at this point, we could test it out and see if it works okay. Although I have a invalid syntax. What did I do wrong here? Oh, actually, it's good that this came up, because I made an error here, because this looks very logical and it seems like what you would type, and in some languages you can do this, but what you have to do here is you have to put AVG. You have to put that again, even though it's kind of more typing. You have to put that twice. You have to put the variable each time when you have this kind of operator here in the middle, this kind of separator that's joining these. So you have to make sure that you restate the variable when you do that. So now that I did this, well, let's run it and see if it works. And I'll do 90s first and see if that works. Make sure I get an A to put in less. And it says average of 6 tests is 90, so that's an A. So that's working. And let me put in 80s, and that comes out as a B. So it's working. So this is pretty easy. So as long as you get your numbers right, you can just keep copying this. And I'll just copy this. And you just have to make sure you get your indents correct, and Repel it will kind of keep track of your indents. And I'll make this one. This one you could just change that to a 7 and that to a 7. And that will be a C, and this will be a 6, and this will be a D. And again, I'm not putting plus grades in here. And then for my last one, you could put an L, you could just paste this again and put like less than 60. You could put that. Or you could just put else, because else would be anything but. And I'll just do that. And then when you put else, you don't actually need a condition. So you don't have to put, if you can use, you can finish up with an elif, but usually these kind of conditional statements go in the process of, or in the sequence of if, elif, and then they finish off with an else, because else means anything but. So I could just say anything but would be less than 60, because we already have greater than 90, so that's the only thing that would be left. But if you wanted to put less than 60, you could do that. But I'll just put else, it's going to be an F. So that puts the whole range there, and then you can kind of test out the whole range. And there's not a whole lot to do here. I could just test out the range and put in 50s. You could test them all out. I'll just put 50s and make sure that it goes to an F if it's nothing in those other ranges. And there I get an F. So I assume everything's okay. You could test them all, but that's pretty easy. It's just a matter of getting your numbers correct. And it's just for each condition, it's printing out something different. So if it's not, it just moves on to the next one. So if it doesn't meet that criteria, if it's not greater than or equal to 90, it moves down. Is it that? No. If it moves that, no. So if it moves that, no. So it keeps moving down. It keeps going to the next one in kind of a sequence. If it's not meeting that criteria, and this meets every criteria that isn't the other one, so that just prints out an F. So that's all you have to do. Now, what you can do to copy this is just copy this link again, and then when you go into My Warren, put it under ex6 for the test scores letter grade. You don't have to change this to letter grade. You could just leave this in here and just paste the same thing in there, just so I could see that you did this part of it when I do the grades for this assignment. So, and I'm assuming you already did the first one, and there's a video for the test scores one that I already did. So that's using conditional statements if, elif, and else. That's actually for ex6 test scores letter grade.